Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Luke. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. It's not going to be a regular sermon. I'm doing this basically for YouTube. I have to fill you in on some information with the corruption that's happening in our government. Now, I want you to remember that I'm a pastor, okay? Now, with what has happened with Snowden, WikiLeaks, the NSA, gun control, them trying to take away our constitutional rights to bear arms. This is some of the stuff that they've been doing to innocent citizens. And now, with the times being as they are, you might be able to more easily relate to the reality of what's going on here. Maybe 15 years ago you wouldn't have been able to, but I wanted to tell you this, because this is what our government does to people. There's a reason why they want to disarm everybody, including us, our own constitutional rights. And also, of course, you know, recently they determined that what the NSA did was illegal. Okay? Well, they're terrorizing Christians today, just as they did before in the Bible, just as they did to Jesus, John, Paul, Timothy, Elijah. Many Christians today are being imprisoned illegally in this country by the pagan terrorist government. And it sounds extreme, but I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm saying this, because I have been a victim of it myself. Okay? These deranged psychopaths that are in our government, they block others from entering their agencies and use those agencies to destroy our freedoms. Okay? I want you to keep in mind how many people must have been involved in this situation for this to occur. Okay? I want you to listen very, very closely to all this stuff and see how all this is related. Okay, I filed for divorce in 1997, okay? My ex-wife, she was a child abuser. I didn't want any more kids with her. She was promiscuous, and I tried to break up with her before I found out how old she was, even before we got married. I was going to college, and she was still in high school. She was a bit younger than me, but she kept chasing me around, and I finally gave in. But her mother was all up for it. You know, I was like 8 years older than her. But I was naive, and she was more worldly than I was. And so that's kind of the way it goes. But, okay, so we ended up getting a divorce based on biblical principles. It was perfectly legitimate. She gave me sole custody, okay, voluntarily, because she wanted to party, and I moved to Michigan, as the court was aware of, before the finalization of the agreement. Okay, she did not have to pay any child support, none. It was signed and witnessed by a judge, and she was also on probation for domestic abuse, and she was manic depressive, so it was like living in hell being with her. Okay, so I had sole custody. I moved up to Michigan with my daughter. Okay, her lesbian mother was angered by the agreement and told her that she could take all my money. And she would always have these group meetings with dozens of militant lesbians down in Tallahassee. And apparently some of them knew Hillary Clinton. So I want you to keep track of this, just how much influence must have been involved to make this happen, okay? She told them that Lauren should not be with me because apparently I love Jesus too much, okay? She's a pagan, a Wiccan. I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I was very naive when I was down there. I was a Dean's List graduate of Florida State just 19 months earlier. I worked and paid my own way through college. Okay? So, I have sole custody. Sole custody. I don't mean shared custody. I don't mean anything like that. But it was sole custody. Sole primary custody. So, what they did was, after I had sole custody, I moved up. She didn't want her, of course, because it would have been too much of a responsibility. So she had some connections, apparently, and they trumped up some fictitious grand theft charges to kidnap my daughter, to actually kidnap me and abduct my daughter. After they took her, they would not allow me any phone calls, and they told me I had no rights, okay? I was extradited down to Florida, and they carted me around to other federal institutions for a month on Con Air flights with murderers and rapists for a month. I mean, I was in leg chains and handcuffs. This is all completely illegal. And, you know, when they came to pick her up, I said, look, I have the documents on the table that that show that I have sole custody. And he said, you don't have any more. I said, what are you talking about? And he told me to shut up or he's going to rip my eyeball out and shove it up my rear end. So this is the way that this government operates, okay? So I get down to Florida finally after a month of being toted around for no reason on these trumped up charges, going all these different federal jails and everything. I end up getting down to Florida and they drop all the charges because they were fake, of course, because they were all made up. Now, when I got down there, they threw out the whole marital settlement agreement illegally. Also, the judge told me I was never going to get Lauren back as long as Hillary Clinton was in office. Okay? Now, this is the way these pagans work. They told me where to get a job, because they screwed up my life, basically. And you can see now with the assistance that the government helps, like General Motors and Chrysler and stuff, they had agreement, the government has, with certain corporations to do favors for people, okay? So they told me where I could go to get a job. So, I mean, the ex-mother-in-law, the lesbian mother-in-law, she even filled out illegal forms that stated that I stole my own car. This whole thing was just totally trumped up. So they destroyed my whole normal career forever. I was an accountant. And so basically, once they get their claws into you, they never let go of you, okay? So she gets Lauren back, and the judge says, well, she's gonna get the child, and you'll do okay financially. So that tells you some of the reason like GM felt that they were comfortable going to the government for a bailout and everything like that. Okay, so once the FBI screws you, the FBI was involved in this. Okay, it was from Michigan to Florida, so it was across state lines. So the federal government had to be involved in this. Okay, there was an FBI federal number for this. Once the FBI screws you, you're opposed for the rest of your life. Okay, especially if you seek justice. Okay, so her lesbian Wiccan grandmother, Ellen Hamilton, was brainwashing my little girl down there and told her daddy's bad. Lauren doesn't talk to daddy, and she's a lesbian, and this is part of the stuff I was trying to protect Lauren from in the first place. So she takes naked pictures of her and different things like that. She tried to get my last name removed from her birth certificate. She's a sociopath. She's actually a psychologist, but she's a God hater. Okay, so after they took my daughter away from me, when I moved up to Michigan, she didn't have to pay any child support or anything, okay? But the lesbian grandmother, she says, our God is better than Jesus because we got all the money and we took her away from you. And she also stated, nothing you Christians do or say or feel means anything because we control the government. Okay, now remember, she's filled out forms that stated that I stole my own car, and she had this thing, the Queen of Heaven, the pagan stuff, and everything. Okay, so I had to pay her child support on top of that after they kidnapped my daughter and illegally took her when I had sole custody, signed sole custody and everything. And when I go down there, she was abused, she was filthy, her clothes would be filthy, she had a cut over her eye. Her ear was split down to the cartilage from neglect. There was an infection behind her ear. She never get any new clothes unless I got them for her. And okay, so what happens is that a couple years later, I'm still trying to go down there and see her, and they're still giving me a hard time. And my daughter told me on Christmas that her lesbian aunt, her mother is one too, but her lesbian aunt and mother tried to coerce her to let them take naked pictures of her, and showed her new pictures of some girl named Michelle that was her Aunt Amy's friend with her legs spread. And they tried naked with her legs spread. And they're showing these to my 7-year-old daughter and trying to get her to do the same thing. So I filed charges. They found the pictures and they validated the story, but they refused to give my daughter back to me. Now this video that Jamie X just put on her YouTube thing that just went viral. This is the way these pagan lesbians think, that they're, she even says, it's one of the sickest things when they said that on the Jamie X video, that she said she's trying to help you. That's what they're insane. These people are insane pagans. Okay. Okay, so I tried to file charges, and they refused to prosecute it. Okay, so I met with this attorney, the state attorney, Willie Meggs. Okay, so I told him, so he ends up being the one who set me up with these false charges in the first place. So he sits back there and he goes, well, let me tell you, Mr. Meyer, so you want us to do for you what we did to you for her. And I said, no, what you did to me was illegal. I said, what I want you to do is enforce the law. And he goes, well, let me tell you, Mr. Meyer, I'm the only game in town. And if I say no charges are going to be filed, then charges aren't going to be filed. And they all, they had holsters on and everything when they came into the meeting room and everything like that. Him and the assistant, the investigator, chief investigator, and assistant attorney, Goodwin and Gandy. So after that, they not only would not give her back to me, but then they started letting her attack me when I would come to see my daughter. So they allowed her to assault me on several occasions, even with the help of school people, like some lesbians in the school. And they would keep her from seeing me, and even run me out of town. And they even threatened me with additional false arrests and trumped up charges for harassing the police when I would complain about what was happening. So they were then, after I tried to report my daughter being abused, then they tried to prevent me and threaten me with prosecution again after the illegal stuff that they already did. Okay, so they tried to set me up several times and then tried to get me in trouble down in Tallahassee. Sheriff Larry Campbell even admitted to it, that he was the one who set it up. I even have an email from him that states that he was the one that did it. Okay, and so they defend lesbian child molesters and just create acts of civil war. Okay, so I filed a whole bunch of family law petitions, and they would not let me see her or talk to me at all since she was 11 years old. Okay, she's 20 years old now. So I've been blocked from seeing my little girl for all this time. Then they illegally increased the child support, to make it so I can't even come down there to see her. Okay, they do an income tax intercept, brainwash the heck out of her, and to where she doesn't even know who I am anymore. Okay, so I filed a lawsuit against the ones involved, including the FBI. Then my home is attacked, and when I call the police, they come over and they beat me and taser me, punch me and choke me and nearly killed me. Okay, they throw me in jail and press 3 additional trumped up felony charges against me for nothing. Okay, this is because this is what I did. I filed, you can see this. This is the biggest pro se lawsuit in U.S. history. Okay, it's got almost 50 exhibits here. See how thick that is? So what they did is, after I filed this lawsuit, they came and attacked me because they didn't want to have anybody find out about it. They didn't want me to proceed this in court, okay? So they had 3 additional trumped up felony charges on it. The FBI, Dave Kotel, calls my parents and tells them, the FBI calls my parents, okay? This is like the COINTELPRO, okay? There was a church senate committee a long time ago that had done an investigation about this kind of stuff, that these illegal acts the FBI was doing. And you can read about that on the internet. Search COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program, COINTELPRO. Okay, so this Dave Kotel guy calls my parents and told them it would be in their best interest if they didn't help me. So I confronted him about it, and he said, so what? Okay, so they set my bail at $150,000. Okay, I called them because someone was breaking into my house, and they come and attack me, arrest me, throw me in jail, and set my bail at $150,000 for filing a lawsuit. Okay, then they give me a court-appointed attorney who is going to let them do whatever they wanted to do. I got another attorney, then they conspired with him, and he dumped the case one day before the trial. Then I got a real attorney finally. I was, by the grace of God, somehow I was able to make this stuff happen. I don't know. But then we beat them. Long story short, we beat them in a jury trial. Okay? Now, the prosecutor, Oakland County prosecutor, never files a case unless he's sure he can win. He had 3 trumped up felony charges against me. He has a 98% conviction record. and he lost every single one, okay? The jury goes, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, okay? He jumps up and he freaks out after the not guilty verdict and yells to them. He goes, but he's suing the FBI, okay? So he goes and he spills the beans that obviously this is what it was all about. They're attacking me because I'm exercising my rights of due process and a full and fair opportunity to litigate. But what do? They come and beat me up and almost kill me and shoot me with a taser gun twice, you know, like 300,000 volts of the thing shooting through me because these sparks shooting all over the place. And, okay, so my daughter now is 20. She's completely alienated and brainwashed and doesn't even know who I am hardly. All because I love Jesus too much and fought to protect her. Okay, that's the way this government works, okay? Now, you can imagine how much influence had to come across to make this stuff happen, okay? I have another case I just filed in federal court, and it is being stonewalled right now, okay? So this government provokes people through illegal acts, okay? Now, how would you respond if someone kidnapped your daughter and sent her back to someone who was abusing her, and then you couldn't defend her in any way when she was being abused and neglected? I would get her back, and she would not even have she would never brush her teeth for months. And it would be like 2 months later, I'd go down there every 6 to 8 weeks that I possibly could. I spent every penny to make sure she was okay. Her teeth would be filled flat with tartar. I had to chip them off in chunks because the tartar would be so thick. And it was just sick. It was such child abuse, and there was nothing that they would do about it. No matter what I did, they just would not do anything. Okay, so after 9/11, this COINTELPRO, this kind of behavior, they just changed the name of it. Instead of COINTELPRO, they call it the Patriot Act. And it's so unpatriotic, it's so unconstitutional. So what they do is, when people try to defend themselves and fight back, they say, see, you need us to defend you from the problem. See, if I would have defended myself and I would have fought back against them, which I had the legal right to do, then they would have went on TV and said, oh my gosh, this is another terrorist act. But see, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know that they kidnapped my daughter. You don't know that they abducted my daughter and kidnapped me and threw me in a federal jail for 30 days. Without being able to call anybody and deny me my due process rights and everything like that. They never tell you, never know what's going on. And this is to a pastor that they did this, okay? Okay, in World War II, now if they're going to use an excuse about the Twin Towers being bombed or being attacked, in World War II, we had a plane fly into the Empire State Building. I don't know if you know that, but you can look it up on the internet, okay? This isn't something new. So we didn't have to have all this all of a sudden, this big, thing about Homeland Security and all this other stuff. That's implementing a police state. That's what it's all about. It's controlling and oppressing everybody. It all goes back, just like to the Old Testament, where everybody's being oppressed. That's why Jesus came, was for freedom, okay? Now, there's a reason why I'm telling you this, is because that Jamie X was abused by a lesbian teacher. And this falls into that same category, just what kind of things that they get away with, and this implementation of, homosexual marriage and everything like that, and them just alienating what our country was founded on in the first place. This country was founded as a Christian nation, okay? Now remember, Luke 6:22, Jesus says, blessed are you when people hate you, when they exclude you and insult you and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and weep for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. For that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. Okay? So they're doing the same thing today that they did before. Okay? I've been thrown in jail for no reason. All this stuff has happened to me for absolutely no reason. Every time that we went to court, they lost because it was false. Okay? So I want you to know that she is not the only one that has been denied opportunity to proceed with something when she has been abused, okay? My daughter has been abused for years by, lesbians. And now she's just incredibly messed up. So I want you to keep this in mind, and God bless you all, and try to stay tuned, because there are a lot of biblical clarifications that are going to be on this website. And this is about the only place you'll really find them without fear. Okay? God bless you all, and good night.